sure, but it gives you a little bit of background and helps you remember the name. But it's 12 counties, pretty much all of southeastern Wisconsin other than Jefferson and Milwaukee. So it's Racine, Kenosha, Walworth, Washington, Sheboygan, Manitowoc, Ozaukee, Fond du Lac, Winnebago, Calumet, Green Lake. I hope I got them all, but it's that whole southeastern border. So I'd appreciate if you could look into my background and hopefully vote. I started out as, I grew up in Sheboygan, and I'm actually from, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm a third-generation attorney. Don't leave. But the rest of my family all did probate and tax work and that kind of thing, and I always wanted to be a prosecutor, and I always wanted to be sort of Perry Mason in reverse and lock them up and be dramatic in court. So I went to law school at Marquette, and then I went to, I worked in Milwaukee a little bit, I worked in Rock County, and then I finally took a job as an assistant DA in Waukesha County. So I was prosecuting cases for 10 years. I'm sorry, you can hear me all right? Usually people tell me I'm too loud, but it must be the morning, I'm not awake yet. So I was a DA in Waukesha County for 10 years prosecuting there, and so I've done a lot of cases, and I liked being in court. I left that job because our buddy Tommy Thompson convinced me to run against Doyle for Attorney General back in '98, which seems like an eternity ago, but unfortunately I lost. And I think had I gotten him out of the Attorney General, he wouldn't have made it to the governor's office, so unfortunately he did, and obviously we know what he did to the state, but he'll be gone soon, not soon enough, but anyway, after that, I worked at hearings and appeals, where you go around to probation and parole hearings in prisons and jails and try to get people to remain in jail. So that was real interesting. I did that around the state. And then I worked at reg and licensing, which if any of you have a business or have any kind of license for beauty or whatever, real estate, things like that, we regulate that. So I worked there. Then I ran for the circuit court in Waukesha County, and I'm in my second term there, so we do rotations of criminal and family and civil, and I'm in the criminal division right now. I've decided to run for Court of Appeals because the last election we elected, somehow we had 2 attorneys, neither of them were circuit court judges, so they didn't know what it was like to be in the bench, and she's very liberal. So she's looking for little loopholes and reasons to give defendants, oh, let's just give them a new trial, let's just re-sentence them, or let's just do that and send things back. And it's costing all of us a lot of time and money, and if you're a victim, you know how long it takes to get through the system to begin with. You finally have closure, it gets to the Court of Appeals, and they send it back, so it's really not very nice. So we need somebody who's going to stand up to her and going to say, no, that's a technicality, that doesn't change just because there was an error, that doesn't affect, he did have a fair trial, we aren't going to send it back, that kind of thing. And we need somebody who's not going to legislate from the bench with their opinion. We need somebody who's going to follow the law, follow the Constitution. I'm a strict constructionist. I don't believe in putting my opinion, my values, and what I think should be the law. You people have already decided what the law is. We have a Constitution that tells us what it is, and it's pretty clear and pretty simple. So you don't need to do these fancy interpretations, so it needs your version or what you want to see done. What else can I tell you? Obviously, I've been in politics, and I've been a member of Republican Women and the National Federation of Republican Women, and I've been a good conservative for years. My opponent's trying to say he's a conservative because he's from Waukesha, but he's really done nothing but join the party for $10 and then, you know, run for election, and then you don't see him again. I don't want to be real negative about him, but I don't think he's going to stand up to Lisa Neubauer, who's a very liberal judge on the Court of Appeals. He's going to go with the flow. Even with his, some of you have heard his nomination papers. He filed them. He used the title judge. They told him it's illegal. You may not get on the ballot. You should refile them. He said, it's too much trouble. I'm not going to go and do that. We didn't challenge them because it's a technicality that says it's wrong, but there's no, again, the way these people wrote the laws, there's no punishment or there's no remedy. I wouldn't have been able to kick them off the ballot. They may have been able to make them recirculate, but they decided not to. He filed about 1,300 papers. I filed 2,000, and he just couldn't be bothered to refile those, even if it meant taking him off the ballot. So how much time is he going to spend looking at decisions or big briefs on the appellate court if he can't be bothered to file appropriate papers? I guess I have some concerns about that. Some of my endorsements, I have Tommy Thompson and Sue Ann Thompson backing me, of course. I have Scott Walker backing me. I have a number of representatives and legislators that are going to be backing me. I have a number of judges backing me. I'm missing a lot of the law enforcement, I'll tell you that, and the DAs, which is weird, you'll say, because I was a DA. But my opponent has a brother in the sheriff's department and is friends with the DAs. So a lot of these people don't even know him. They're going on sort of the boys club and friends by backing him. But I'll tell you that Paul, my opponent, has never even prosecuted a criminal case. So these people have not worked with him and aren't saying, we know he's tough on crime because he's never prosecuted a criminal case, and they've never worked with him. But so that's what the endorsements are about. Let's see, what else can I tell you? The election is April 6th. There's no primary, just a general election. It's a 6-year term. Other than that, it is an open seat right now because Harry Snyder retired. So it's based out of Waukesha, but covers the 12 county. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I know I'm talking really fast, but any questions or any areas I didn't cover? Go ahead.
I'd like to ask a couple of things, and I'm trying to identify what to ask candidates to get what I need to hear.
Right.
And you said you're a constitutionalist and everything else. Just in a short brief, what is the Constitution to you?
Well, it's our basic document that guides our law and our civilization and how we respond and how we want to govern. That the government doesn't control us, the people control what the people want. This is the people's version, and it's our sort of guide and Bible.
Well, what I was wanting to hear, is this a limiting document on government?
Yes.
What it is?
Yes.
And it's not being utilized.
Right.
Right? So that's what I want to hear. That
We don't need more government. I mean, realize I am government and I've been in government, but that doesn't mean government controls you. Government should work for you and do what you need to accomplish. And the only reason we have government is for things that we can't do on our own. Otherwise, we should limit it to the utmost.
Well, it's, but when you, I mean, and I'm not looking to argue, but it's enumerated powers across the board. Now, we're talking state and federal, but the problem is federal right now has got the Constitution, supposed to be the governing document.
Right.
They're telling the states what to do. The states have abrogated their responsibilities under the 10th, as far as I'm concerned. And Paul Craig Roberts' Tyranny of Good Intentions. You know, you look at the court system. You look at 3 felonies a day. The book was just out. Go directly to jail. The judges are making decisions, and this is across the board, from a political standpoint and not a law.
Right.
And there's natural law, there's positive law. I'm fed up with positive law because most of it's not. Where do you stand on the natural law when people stand up in front of you and say, you don't have the right to take away my God-given rights, my unalienable rights? Judges are throwing people in jail for saying that. Correct? Or am I right or wrong?
Well, I'm not. I mean, we have certain laws that we follow, and like I said, I'm not going to interpret the law. I'm not going to lock you up because of freedom of speech or because you want a gun and it's your right under the Constitution to have a gun. But if you go out and kill someone and you're in my courtroom and a jury finds you guilty and you go through the channels, then yeah, you're going to go to prison. Does that help?
Well, when we talk about it, there's a case of what is it, certiorari or whatever it is, Supreme Court.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you look right now, Bill Benson case. Are you familiar with the 16th, Bill Benson and the 16th Amendment case?
A little bit.
I mean, you look at the history right there. Here's a man that went to every state in the Union in when Knox put this together. Got certified documents across the board. Fifth Circuit in Chicago says you cannot submit these government documents on your behalf. I mean, it's a travesty of justice in my mind. When a man can't do it and the Supreme Court is telling them, we're not going to hear it.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking for a judge that is so pissed about this that they're standing up and saying, we've got a bunch of guys sitting on a bench that need to be freaking impeached. On the Second Amendment, on the Hiller case, when that case went down, I called Ryan and said, I want you to file impeachment charges now on the 4 that decided to deprive me of my Second Amendment rights. I wrote Feingold and I wrote them, and again, we have no representation in Washington.
Right.
And the states are not doing it. The benches in the states have got to start telling these idiots no more.